Imagine you're a college girl living in a world that's completely silent. Tough, right? This is the story of Yuki, who, under the snow, can't help but think about when her first love will come. Does she have to go out and look for it? Or is the universe already preparing someone for her? She takes the train, but she can't hear the announcements from the speaker. She is immersed in her world with her friends, the university, and the little that surrounds her. Suddenly, a foreigner asks her for directions to find a restaurant, and Yuki tries to explain to him that she is deaf, but the guy doesn't understand sign language. A tall guy with silver hair realizes he needs help and explains what he needs in perfect English. Yuki is grateful and recognizes that the stranger from the university is in the same club as her best friend. She thanks him for helping her, but again, sign language isn't understood. She tries to use her phone, but the young man with silver hair asks her if she can read lips. Yuki tells him yes and moves closer to say that, in fact, the foreigner does understand Japanese. He finds it interesting to meet someone like her, but Yuki tells him that they go to the same university. The young man asks her about her stop, and since he has to get off, he gently touches her head to say goodbye, steps back a bit, and bids her farewell with a "see you later." Yuki feels very happy because the guy understood her situation and was considerate in trying to communicate with her. She normally lives in a world without any sound, so it took her a while to realize that the vibrations she felt from her heart beating strongly. The next day, she wakes up to her alarm, puts on her headphones, and is ready to go to university. One of her classmates notices that she's different, and it's because she's very happy to meet someone. When she arrives in class, Yuki sits next to her best friend Rin, who takes notes so that Yuki can study, but once they're done, she asks about the guy with silver hair. Rin explains to her that his name is Itsuomi and that he usually travels abroad quite often. Her best friend asks 2009 if she's in love with him or if she's just interested. The difference is that you seem less desperate since Rin is also interested in Itsuomi's cousin. They both work at a cafe, and it would be nice for them to go visit them together. The only bad thing is that Rin gets really nervous just seeing him. Yuki encourages her through text messages, and they both promise to go together to get both of their numbers. At Yuki's house, the redhead is ready for her mission. She tells her mother that she's going out with Rin using a board and says goodbye. The two are in front of the restaurant, a bit nervous but determined to go in. At the bar, Itsuomi is there, and Rin thanks him for helping her friend on the train. When boss Kyuya arrives, Rin feels a bit embarrassed, but Kyuya is surprised that she's accompanied. He tries to greet Yuki, but Rin explains to him that she is deaf. Our protagonist knows they are talking about her, and Itsuomi takes her face in his hands to ask her if she drinks alcohol. It's not very common to invade someone else's personal space, but he didn't do it with bad intentions. Using a board, Yuki tells him that she's 19 and for now, she'll just order tea. Rin tells her that Itsuomi knows more than one language, including Japanese, English, German, a bit of Chinese, and a little Spanish. Foreigners arrive at the cafe. One kisses Itsuomi, causing Yuki to blush. Outside Japan, such greetings are normal. Itsuomi is unfazed. Rin has asked Kyuya for his number. It seems that outside of Japan, it's normal to greet like that because Itsuomi didn't even flinch. He probably experienced things during his travels that she can't even imagine, something very far from her world. When she turns to look at her friend, Rin has already asked Kyuya for his number and he accepted. Yuki also wants to do the same, but she can't find a way to do it, and in the end, she wasn't able to ask for his number. Before leaving, Rin looks worried about her, but Itsuomi has already finished his shift and offers to walk them home. Rin, to help her best friend, will go alone and encourages Yuki to get the precious number. They walk together under the snowy night, and from behind, a motorcycle comes speeding by. Itsuomi protects Yuki by pulling her close to his chest with a smile, calming her down and holding her hand for her safety. For Yuki, it's a precious moment that doesn't need words to express her feelings. Little by little, the snow is piling up on Itsuomi's arm, and to try to alert him, she squeezes his hand tightly since they stopped. Yuki takes the opportunity to ask for his number, and the silver-haired guy tells her he'll teach her how to give it in sign language, scoring points with the redhead. Finally, they can talk through messages, and she says goodbye because Yuki can go home from where they are. Before completely parting ways, Yuki messages him asking if he thinks the world is a big place, and Suomi replies that it's an immense place, but he still wants her to let him into her world. The excited redhead drops her umbrella and, with immense happiness, signs that of course she will, and Suomi responds with a smile. The next day he goes to get his hair cut because he wants to learn sign language for her. Yuki can't forget the night she spent with Itsuomi, and in fact, it's getting late for her to go to university. When Rin arrives, she congratulates her because she finally got his number, and the truth is that the redhead had gotten really nervous. Also, Rin called her to the cafe because it's the place where Itsuomi meets with his cultural exchange group. Yuki sees him, but she can't understand the words coming out of his mouth. He's probably not even speaking Japanese. His message from yesterday made her very happy because she wanted to step into his world, but he probably just wants her to join his cultural club so he can teach her sign language. Itsuomi leaves and Rin calls him over to come see our protagonist. Yuki can't look at him directly because she's embarrassed, but it's the only way she can communicate. She tries to take out her phone to write something, and Itsuomi moves even closer to read what it says. In the distance, a guy is watching them, and Yuki tells him that she can't use sign language at university because no one would understand her. Suomi says she looks really cute, but he has to leave because he needs to catch a flight to Laos. Rin tells her that she looks happier than usual, and that she must be in love with Itsuomi. The protagonist tells him no and that she's only interested, but the truth is she still doesn't know what the difference is. Still, her best friend points out her childhood friend Ushi, who was watching everything from the balcony. Ushi asks her in sign language about Shizuomi, but the pink-haired girl says he's a friend. It's surprising to the classmates that Yuki is deaf, even with hearing aids. Rin notices Ushi knows sign language, but the main girl says he uses it to say mean things. The awkward moment ends when she gets a message from Suomi about souvenirs from Laos. Yuki still wonders about the difference between liking someone and just being interested. She gets over this awkward moment when she receives a message from Suomi asking if she wants any souvenirs from Laos. Yuki still wants to know what the difference is between liking someone and just being interested. Rin told her that she was only interested in the bar owner, but it seems like now she likes him. It's a decision she has to make for herself, and after replying to him, she at least decides that she needs to think it over carefully. Meanwhile, Uchi was on the subway when a deaf guy passes by, and the attendant thinks he sneaked in. The guy helps him, and Izumi says that he seems to be a good guy after all. The truth is that deaf people often face a lot of challenges, and it would be easier if they were all together so that they could be more easily protected. Days later, Yuki receives a message from Itsuomi. It's several photos of places he has traveled to, and he mentions that he will be back in 2 days so they can see each other again. Yuki is really excited, and when the day arrives, our main girl sees him on the other side of the runway. This time, Itsuomi speaks to her in sign language, which excites her a lot and makes her fall for him even more. The first thing he does is hand her the souvenir he promised, and when Yuki thanks him, her almost boyfriend gently takes her by the head and caresses her softly. At night, Yuki can't stop thinking about him and how he makes her world feel bigger and more colorful, especially since she was confined to a special school until she finished high school. Her world was small, but she was able to make friends, including Madoka, one of her best friends, and most importantly, gave her the courage to continue her life normally. In the cafeteria, Yuki wants to approach Rin to tell her how she feels about Itsuomi, but she's chatting with her friends and didn't let her know she was coming. Suddenly, Uji shows up to tell her what they're talking about and to say that she shouldn't be making him wait if she's really her friend. Seeing his signs, Yuki realizes that he's quite clumsy. Deep down, he cares about her and tells her not to worry. On the other side, Itsuomi arrives, and with a glance, he shakes her whole being and goes off with the girls. But Ushi is pretty jealous and leaves, not without first telling Rin to be careful when approaching from behind since Yuki can't hear her footsteps. When they are alone, Yuki decides to confess to Rin how she feels about Itsuomi, that she really likes him. Rin lets out a scream of excitement, and now that their feelings are clearer, they can all go talk together. At night, Yuki is working on a sign language manual for Itsuomi because she feels so much love for him that she wants to help him communicate better in her language. It's pretty hard to draw the signs, and she has to look in the mirror, but her mom thinks she's dancing. Our main girl goes with Rin to Itsuomi's bar and notices that her friend isn't as nervous as she was before. She takes the board to write something when suddenly her hearing aid starts to make noise. The main girl adjusts them because they weren't on properly and explains to Itsuomi that she's been using them since birth. She can't hear anything directly. With the hearing aids, she only hears all the sounds mixed into one. The owner apologizes because Itsuomi asks too many questions, but Ayuki isn't bothered by it. In fact, she takes the opportunity to hand him the manual she's been working on, and everyone is proud of her. Our main girl blushes. Itsuomi struggles with signing his name, so Yuki helps him. The book isn't enough for him to learn. He wants Yuki to teach him personally and know her favorite signs. He touches her face, but Rin warns against sudden contact, though Yuki doesn't mind if it's Itsuomi. Suddenly, Itsuomi's friends, Shin and Emma, enter the bar. He takes her face in his hands, but Rin tells him that he shouldn't touch her so suddenly, even though Yuki actually doesn't mind the physical contact if it's coming from Itsuomi. Suddenly, some of Itsuomi's friends walk into the bar, a guy with glasses and dyed hair named Shin, and a really beautiful girl named Emma. Both of them are friends from Itsuomi's high school and they come in pretty drunk. The silver-haired guy serves them, and Shin is quite outgoing, but only when he drinks a lot. He's actually a shy and antisocial guy. On the other hand, Emma takes him by the arm with apparent interest and Yuki can't help but feel jealous. They're about to leave, and Emma won't stop clinging to her man. When she asks the owner, he tells her that they're not actually dating and it's likely that they never will. The owner leaves, and Itsuomi says goodbye, telling her to be careful on her way home. Days later, with the arrival of the snow, Yuki is worried because she hasn't talked to Itsuomi in a long time. Maybe, just maybe, he's with that girl, but she quickly dismisses that thought and sends him a message. It turns out he's in Japan, at a laundromat near his house, and our main girl immediately runs to meet him. It's the first time she's out so late to see a guy, and on her way, she runs into Ushi, who is pretty upset and keeps throwing tissues at her. He asks her if she's dating a guy, and our main girl doesn't respond. She has little time left, so she leaves without giving any explanations. When she arrives at the laundromat, Itsuomi buys her a drink and asks her for money to buy one for himself. In exchange, he hands her a foreign coin that's worth almost the same, and if she wants to see more, he can show her another day. Yuki asks him why he travels so much abroad, but Itsuomi tells her that they don't know each other well enough yet. Yuki wants to know him, and Itsuomi finds her cute. She teaches him ways to say someone is cute, like stroking the head. Itsuomi travels a lot, interested in cultures and languages, but realized he didn't need to travel to find a different world when he saw her. Yuki wants to know him more, showing him with signs until they hold hands. And Itsuomi is someone who tends to travel a lot, so he's really interested in cultures and languages. But when he saw her for the first time, he realized he didn't need to travel the whole planet to find a completely different world. Yuki wants to get to know him better, and she shows it with more and more signs until they both hold hands. Itsuomi holds her against his chest, whispers a few words in German, and Yuki's heart races uncontrollably. Itsuomi laughs because she's really blushing, but Yuki feels his hands gently holding her, and even if it was just for an hour, it felt like an eternity to her. When they go out, it's snowing, and he also likes the snow. The sign to say that you like something is to touch your chin, and the silver-haired guy will use it very soon. He walks Yuki home, and she can't stop thinking about the girl from the bar, so she asks him if she's his girlfriend. Itsuomi tells her that she's actually just a friend, and is more interested in finding out who the guy is that she talks to at the university. The main character tells him he's a childhood friend and has teased her with signs. Relaxed, they promise to meet on Monday. Izumi arrives home, Emma waits with drinks, wanting to stay the night. Both feeling more relaxed, they want to know when they'll see each other again, and they promise with their pinkies that they'll meet again on Monday. With the snow as their witness, they continue on their way together. When Izumi gets home, Emma is waiting for him at the door with some drinks. She wants him to let her spend the night at his place, and you can start to guess where this is going. However, Itsuomi will leave her alone at her house and go sleep somewhere else. And since Emma didn't get what she wanted, she's about to leave, but she finds the sign language manual. Emma wonders why she's studying that specifically, but for now, she doesn't think much of it. Meanwhile, Yuki is at home looking at the coin that Itsuomi gave her, and she gets a message from Rin saying that she's going to buy supplies for the store with the owner, Kyuya. It's the perfect opportunity for both of them, but she asks Yuki to come along with Itsuomi because she'll get really nervous if they go alone. Since they had already made a promise, there's no problem. That same night, Itsuomi went to his cousin, the boss's house, to stay. They watch a movie in English so that the silver-haired girl can practice, and he can't help but think that Ushi knows more sign language than he does. Kyoya asks him why he's so eager to learn sign language if he can only talk to Yuki. Maybe it's to fulfill his dream, but he already has 2 girls in love with him, and his cousin doesn't want him to break their hearts. Itsuomi hands her a beer to quiet her down, and after checking his phone, he realizes he has an invitation from Yuki. He also wishes Kyoya good luck with Rin, and replies to Yuki that they can go together. Our main character is so excited that she picks out special clothes and body lotions. And down that same street, Emma was passing by, calling Shin to go out for a drink. When they meet up, they're already on their 2nd bottle of wine, and Shin asks her what happened. It turns out that Emma finally gathered the courage to confess to Itsuomi, but as always, he didn't pay her any attention. In fact, now he's studying sign language, and thank goodness he has a friend like him to drown her sorrows in alcohol. The day has finally arrived, and Yuki is heading to meet her friends, taking the train to avoid running into Ushi, but he just happens to be inside. The guy asks her where she's going and what time she got back last night, but she just ignores him. When he gets tired of teasing her, Ushi tries to flirt with our main character, but she ignores him because she gets a message from Itsuomi. She exits the station, and since there are a lot of people, Ushi runs to help her. At one point she gets pushed, but the silver-haired guy was close enough to help her. When they see them together, Aochi gets jealous and tries to separate them, but Itsuomi blocks Yuki's view and tells his friend that she doesn't mind his presence. 2000 Dime. Then they leave, and Yuki asks what happened, but it's nothing more than a healthy rivalry between men. At the boss's house, Rin is drowning in nerves being alone with him. However, Kyoya seems a bit worried and asks if Yuki is really in love with Itsu. The silver-haired guy is currently more focused on achieving his dream than on love, and it would be a shame if he got rejected like the others. They might look like a couple now, but he doesn't really know why he's so interested in Yuki. When our main couple arrives, Rin sees them holding hands, but it's only because Yuki almost got run over again. The road trip begins, and Rin falls more and more in love with Kyoya, while Yuki and Itsuomi practice their signs. When they arrive at the store, they see different types of candies, and Itsuomi calls her over to give her a tiramisu. The whole group seems surprised because when he called her, the tone of his voice was quite sweet. Yuki is quite blushing and wonders if every time he talks to her, it's with that same affection. After shopping, Itsuomi asks her if she's ever been abroad, and Yuki says no, but she would love to because it's easier for deaf people to communicate in countries with different languages. It's usually the intention that matters, that desire to communicate which can even be conveyed through the eyes. From the very first time he saw her, she conveyed that desire with a lot of strength, and that was what caught his attention the most about her. So the next time he goes abroad, he'll take her in his suitcase. It's getting late, and Itsuomi wants to help Rin with Kyoya. He suggests that they go to the store together by car, while the others take the train back, so Rin will be alone with Kyoya. Yuki agrees and realizes that she'll also be alone with Itsuomi. Before leaving, Yuki invites him to go out for dinner together, but Itsuomi has to go home, so why not have dinner together at her place? Yuki is a bit nervous, but there's nothing to worry about. They'll be alone since her whole family is abroad. Itsuomi grabs a beer and asks her how the trip was. For her, it was a lot of fun, and the silver-haired guy leans in so they can chat using their phones. He tells her that it's very relaxing to be by her side, and Yuki wonders if they are meant for each other. Being so close, she can read the conversations on his phone, and she feels so distant from him because he speaks so many different languages. Yet right now, she's in his arms and can't help but just go with the flow. On the other hand, Izumi left her dog with Ushi, who, even after a while, can't stop thinking about Yuki. Meanwhile, Rin was running out of conversation topics with Kyoya. Back with Yuki, she's looking at photos of Itsumi's family and asks him what year of university he's in, since he's almost at the same level as Rin, but it's clear that he's much older. The handsome guy explains that he applied for a study and work visa to go abroad, which is why he's much older. He's 22, 3 years older than the main character. When he asks about his family, it turns out that Itsuomi is from Germany, and his whole family lives there, which is why he speaks German fluently. When he asks Yuki if her family uses sign language, she says no. They communicate using a whiteboard, gestures, and even by articulating words with their voices. She doesn't usually talk much, and if she does, it's only with her family, since she was told from a young age that her voice was strange. Then Itsuomi leaves and comes back with different coins he promised to show her, and he also brought a tiki mask. Our main character is so happy that she can't help but laugh, and Izumi hears a soft but lovely laugh from her. At that moment, Yuki receives a call from Kyuya, who asks her something silly. He tells her that he's still at home and that his cousin is worried. He warns her to be gentle with her and then hangs up. Kyuya is still with Rin and is nervous because he doesn't know what Itsuomi is looking for. Rin explains that he is quite affectionate with everyone, but more so with Yuki, and he asks if he feels something like that for someone, referring to her. The truth is, he doesn't, but he still invites her to dinner, and she feels a little happy about it. Yuki is still at the handsome guy's house, and he's trying to tickle her to make her laugh again. He thinks her laugh is cute and wants to know a lot more about her. He wants to show her the wonders of his world and share the quirks of hers. So he takes her hand and asks how much he can do with her. She says it doesn't bother her, so he's about to write the answer on her hand. But at that moment, Emma arrives. Yuki doesn't want to interrupt, so she decides to head home, and Itsuomi will accompany her. When she opens the door, she sees that Emma has already arrived and asks Yuki to wait for her in the elevator. Emma tries to make her jealous by saying that she slept here, but obviously Yuki doesn't hear her. Itsuomi knows she's lying and just wants her to give him back his key. When she hands it over, Yuki sees everything and leaves. In the elevator, she thinks that he has a relationship with Ima. He said he was going to accompany her, but now that the girl showed up, she's not so sure. When she sees them coming out together, she runs off and sends him a message. But Itsuomi didn't even want to be near Emma, and he runs off to find her, but he doesn't make it in time. And the next day, Yuki goes to Rin's house to tell her everything that happened. Rin also finds it strange, but reassures her by saying that Itsuomi is more affectionate with her than with anyone else he knows. This gives Yuki even more hope when suddenly Itsuomi arrives, and Rin leaves to leave them alone. On the other hand, Emma was drinking with Shin because she got rejected again, and Tsuomi wants to pick up the conversation where they left off. He didn't know what he wanted to say to her, but first Yuki asks him why he wants to learn sign language. Itsuomi wants to learn to communicate with her. He kisses her. Yuki blushes deeply. Itsuomi knows her feelings and asks if she's going to the bar to see him. Yuki is very red and looks like she might faint, but she's just embarrassed, so much so that she can't even find her phone. At least Itsuomi now knows how he feels about her, and he's looking at her very intently. He asks her if she's going to the bar just to see him. Yuki is clear about her feelings now, and at this point, using a sign, she declares that she is in love with him, but Itsuomi didn't see her because he was on the phone. It turns out that today he has to go to work early, and soon he will be going abroad again until the end of spring. He asks her to send him videos to study sign language, and when he comes back, they'll make up for all the lost time. Before he leaves, Yuki asks him why he kissed her hand, and Itsuomi asks her if he can fall in love with her. Yuki doesn't respond, but she's so happy that she feels like she's on cloud 9. It's starting to get dark, and Uji runs into Yuki's mother, who is very grateful that she has such a good friend like him. She even knows how to speak sign language. When Uji asks her how she's doing, she tells him that today she'll be staying at a friend's house for the first time in a long while. Uji can only think the worst, so he asks for his daughter's phone number and leaves. Back at the bar, Kyoya congratulates Izuomi on his good work and asks him if he's currently thinking about understanding a couple. He knows the relationship she has with Yuki and asks what she's going to do since she's going to be traveling soon. Itsuomi isn't too worried, and even when he travels, he's quite carefree. He actually feels that Yuki is quite transparent. She hasn't been hurt by all the evil in the world because she hasn't heard or felt rejection. He finds her way of being very cute, and it has completely made him fall in love. At that moment, Yuki and Rin arrive. It's a bit late, but it's no problem because she already has her mother's permission. Itsuomi takes her outside for a moment, and since it's pretty cold, Yuki lends him her scarf, but the silver-haired guy hugs her because it's warm. Since he's traveling soon, he won't have time to see her, so he has something to tell her. In sign language, he confesses his feelings and asks her if she wants to be his girlfriend. Yuki wants to know why, and it's because in all the places in the world he's visited, he has never met anyone like her. Our protagonist can no longer see because of the tears, but he approaches her and tells her that he likes her, and Yuki agrees to be his girlfriend. Suomi continues as if nothing happened, and from now on they'll be dating. Rin is quite happy and drinks a beer. It's already late. She wants to walk Rin home so that the other two can be alone. She tells him that Yuki saw him give the key to Emma, so she'll keep that in mind on the way home, and Suomi tells her that he just lent his apartment to Emma and there's no need to worry. When Yuki checks her messages, she also sees one from Auchi, which surprises her because she didn't even have his number saved. Suomi takes her by the hand, and for Yuki, the walk home feels endless. On the other hand, Rin is worried because she didn't see any reaction from Mitsuomi. He's still the same. Kyuya says that he saw him quite happy, and it's not that he hides it, it's just that his expression is always the same. Suddenly, Shin arrives looking for Itsuomi, but since he's not there, he leaves so as not to interrupt the lovebirds. When they arrive, Yuki wishes him a good trip, and Itsuomi asks her if she wants to travel with him. The problem is that Yuki doesn't have a passport, so she tells him that she'll save money so they can go on a trip together. Before leaving, they say goodbye with a hug and a look that feels eternal. On the train, Yuki wonders if she has already arrived at her destination, and when a job interview comes up, she can't understand anything because she can't read their lips. She remembers that in school, Madoka dreamed of working at a burger joint, and she made it happen, so she writes to her to ask for some advice. Then she meets up with Rin at the cafe where she has a lot of work and is exhausted. Yuki still hasn't found anything, but Rin tells her that she has time before her boyfriend comes back. Yep, now he's her boyfriend, and Yuki is so happy that she won't give up. Madoka told her to write about her disability on the forms and apply to several places since it's very difficult for her to get hired. She wishes him good luck, and after many interviews, she still hasn't found anything. Ushi sends a message saying that his sister Mino came to visit, and that's because Yayuki used to play with her when they were little, as she learned sign language. For now, she has forgotten everything, so Uji has to act as the interpreter. It turns out that Mino now works at a nursing home, and after a good chat, she asks for her number to stay in touch. Mino asks her if she's in love since it's obvious on her face, and Yuki says yes. Mino wishes her brother good luck thinking it's him, but if only she knew. Yuki asks him if he's still studying sign language, and Ushi tells her that he will become an interpreter later on, which Yuki thinks is amazing. Before he leaves, she asks him if he's still talking to Itsuomi and if he ended up staying at his place. You can tell from his expression that he's a bit down, but Yuki says no, and before he thinks she has feelings for him, she tells him that she doesn't want anyone to take advantage of her disability, and that's why she's always been there for her since she was little. It's been a week since he left on his trip, and Itsuomi hasn't replied to any of Emma's messages, but he has to Yuki. He sends her some photos and tells her that if anything makes her uncomfortable, she can let him know. Yuki, a bit embarrassed, tells him not to touch her belly again, but he should be calm because he can touch her in other places, like holding hands or hugs. When he arrives, they'll have all the time in the world to be together, and Yuki is already excited to see him. It's been almost a month since he left, and he's been to different countries: Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar, and even India. Yuki feels really happy for him and their relationship, but she gets a bit down when she sees that she was rejected for another job. Unexpectedly, she receives a message from Itsuomi saying that he's already in Japan and wants to go out to eat together. Yuki runs out, and at the train crossing she sees him again. She can't hide her happiness, and asks if he can hug her. As the train passes, Itsuomi approaches her and gives her a kiss. It turns out that Yuki had misunderstood, and that was the end of her first kiss. The guy with the light hair is acting like nothing happened. Well, he's tanned and has slightly longer hair, and when they eat, she's happy because the handsome guy who just traveled all over the world came straight to have lunch with her and even paid the bill. After that, they rest in a park, where Itsuomi wants to introduce her to Shin, who is one of his best friends. Yuki feels a bit scared because he's someone different, but he's not the kind of person who judges, and if something happens, she can squeeze his hand so they can leave. At that moment, Yuki remembers Shin as a very outgoing person, but that only happens when he's drunk, so now he acts normally. They are both holding hands, and Itsuomi introduces her as his girlfriend. Shin invites them in, and Yuki feels a bit scared, but she knows that if she's with Itsuomi, nothing can go wrong. Yuki asks about his girlfriend's favorite music. They communicate non-verbally. Shin inquires about the date, and Itsuomi admits it was his idea to be with Yuki. He asks Yuki if she likes Itsuomi. She signs yes. Shin asks who asked whom out, and Itsuomi says it was his idea. He wanted time with Yuki. For Shin, it's a new side of his friend. He asks Yuki if she likes Itsuomi, and she says yes in sign language. Shin will inform Emma, who has loved Itsuomi since high school. He asks Yuki if she really likes Itsuomi, and for the first time, she tells him yes in sign language. Shin will be the one to tell Emma, since she's been in love with Itsumi since high school, and if he tells her directly, she would be devastated. Deep down, Shin wanted them to be more than friends, and he has been waiting for quite some time. When they leave, Shin tells Itsuomi that he needs to go get his hair done, and he tells Yuki to take care of her friend. On the way back, Itsuomi realizes that Yuki hadn't understood that he wanted to kiss her. And it's not that he had planned it, but she looked so pretty that he wanted to. From now on, he'll give her a signal if he wants to kiss her, which will be taking her by the cheek and giving her a pinch. If she wants to, she can do the same, but it would be pretty embarrassing. Meanwhile, Shin texts Kyoya to ask about Itsuomi's girlfriend and if he thinks it's a good time for him to try a relationship with Emma. He had always been waiting because he thought Itsuomi felt the same way, but now he realizes that's not the case. He sends a message to Emma and leaves it in God's hands. At the university, Yuki notices that there are new job postings, while Ushi is arguing with his friends over a curry bread at the hair salon. Emma arrives to chat with Shin and is happy because he has improved a lot since high school. He's very close to reaching his dream, and if he needs anything, she can help with whatever. Shin is about to tell her, but he's not ready yet. He still has memories from high school when all the girls were fighting over Itsuomi. He always ate alone on the rooftop, but one day he ran into him and they just greeted each other. Shin didn't usually talk much with his classmates until one day he ran into Emma, who was looking for Itsuomi. Since she couldn't find him, she stayed with Shin listening to music since they were in the same grade. She leaves but comes back the next day with a record for him. Shin didn't ask for it, but Emma tells him that's why he doesn't have friends. Lately, she's been feeling alone too, and it's because she doesn't think she should change just to fit in. Shin was slowly falling more in love with her, even though he knew she was interested in Itsuomi. He always knew that. So one day at lunch, he asked if he could touch her hair. His dream was to be a stylist, and he styled her hair as a thank you for the record. She looked so beautiful that he asked her if she liked Itsuomi, and she replied yes, saying he was like a Prince Charming who came just for her. Emma then told him that he was also popular among the girls. When he asks Itsuomi if he likes Emma, he says that for now he's not interested, so Shin thinks that at some point he will be. Days later, a girl confesses her feelings to Shin and he accepts, even though he loves Emma so much. He knows she's no competition for Itsuomi, and at some point, those two will end up together. But one day, when the three of them are together, Shin's girlfriend shows up to confront him for not having lunch with her. She knows he likes Emma, and if he has the guts, she tells him to make it clear once and for all. Shin stands up but remembers what Emma told him, so he says he would never fall in love with her, obviously to not be a bad friend to Itsuomi because he thinks they will end up together. In the present, Shin finished the hairstyle and is going to tell her that Itsuomi has a girlfriend, but she's so happy because she finally has a chance with him that he can't bring himself to say anything. At the university, Itsuomi finally meets up with Yuki and they look really happy together. The hairdresser has gotten much better at sign language and Rin thinks she should learn a lot more for her. He also wants to spend more time with Kyoya, all four of them together, so Itsumi suggests they have a sign language camping trip. Yuki agrees, so both friends go to the mall to buy clothes. Everything looks nice, but they need to bring something comfortable for the mountains. When they take a break, Madoka sends a message to Yuki, telling her that she finally found a job for her, and our protagonist is really happy. However, Rin is quite worried because there's a guy at her work who keeps asking her out, and since Kyoya isn't making a move, she asks Yuki to leave them alone. It's Saturday, and the couples are leaving the camp. Kyuya tells Rin that she looks very pretty, and since Itsuomi is going to drive, Yuki should sit in the front. Our protagonist thinks it would be dangerous to distract Itsuomi while he's driving, so she'd rather look out the window to avoid talking to him. On the way, Rin comes up with an idea for a game while they're on the road, and everyone will write down their wishes in a notebook so Yuki can play. Rin wants to open a cosmetics store, while someone wants a new cocktail for the restaurant. Yuki would like some nice shoes, and when it's Itsuomi's turn, he wants to go on a trip with his girlfriend, so Yuki needs to find a job soon. They arrive, set up the shop, and start practicing with the signs. Itsuomi finds a little frog, and when he shows it to the girls, they both run away. Lunch is ready, and Itsuomi doesn't hesitate to feed his girlfriend. They're so sweet that Kyuya prefers to go for a walk with Rin. The boss wants to know if she's interested in a guy, and she's going to say no, but suddenly she gets a call from her coworker. He keeps asking her out, but Rin is with Kyuya and tells him not to bother her again because she likes someone. The boss overheard their conversation, and it turns out she's not the only one who's had a boyfriend. Her last relationship lasted over 6 years. It's not that she's always looking for a partner, but if she needs to, Rin would be more than happy to make him happy. Meanwhile, Yuki and Itsumi are happily playing in the river. Her boyfriend carries her, and our protagonist feels so safe in his arms that she could swear he would never let her fall. Later in the cabin, Itsuomi wants to know why she's so deep in thought, and it's because Yuki can't wait to go abroad with him, but she still hasn't found a job. She's excited to travel with him, but the blonde guy is even more eager. She's so happy by his side that she never wants this moment to end. He looks her in the eyes, pinches her cheek, and gives her a kiss. But everything is interrupted by Rin, who has twisted her ankle, and Tsuomi and Yuki will take care of picking everything up. In the car, Rin apologizes, but the boss prefers she avoids those words. As by the river, Kyuya said he enjoys being with her and would date her. Seeing that guy call was unpleasant, and she shouldn't fight over it. As Rin is about to confess, she missteps, and we return, and the boss calls her charming. It was a fun trip, and Oya should take Rin to the hospital. It wasn't pleasant to see that guy calling her, and she thinks she shouldn't fight over that. When Rin is about to tell him how she feels, she takes a misstep, and we return to the present, where the boss tells her that she's very charming. It was a short but fun trip, and Oya should take Rin to the hospital. Since it's still early, the couple will continue with the outing. At a restaurant, they go to the mini supermarket and then to their house, where Yuki tells her mom that she'll be staying at Rin's place. But that's not the case. Her boyfriend tells her that they're just going to hang out, and he goes to take a shower with her in the bathroom, but it would be better if she goes to change. She borrows a t-shirt and finds the sign language book they wrote together. When she reads it, she realizes that Izumi made his own notes, and she feels really happy to have someone like him as her boyfriend. On the other hand, Izumi had gone to Uchi's house to pick up his dog and casually mentions that Yuki already has a boyfriend. Oji doesn't care, but when he hears that her boyfriend is also signing, he gets a little sad. Before leaving, Izumi wants him to be honest about his feelings because it's sad to see him in that state. Uchi calls Yuki's phone, but she had just left it in the bathroom where Itsuomi sees it. Her boyfriend is a bit worried, but Yuki tells him she's fine and goes to take a bath. Then they both go to their room, and Itsuomi had prepared some popcorn to eat while watching the movie. He turns on the subtitles and mutes it to watch it as if he were Yuki. But again his phone starts ringing when the blonde girl sees it. It turns out to be Madoka, who is very happy to see Yuki again. She's really surprised that Yuki got a boyfriend and tells her that she finally got her a job as a kitchen assistant at her aunt's restaurant. She knows sign language so Yuki can relax. She says goodbye and leaves. Since Madoka talks really fast, Yuki has to watch her signs to understand her, and she's happy to finally fulfill one of her dreams. Thanks to him, things that once seemed so far away, like a job, happen instantly when he's by her side. They watch the movie together, and Itsuomi can't help but kiss her hand. She tenses up, so he gives her a kiss to help her relax, and the lights go out. Meanwhile, at the bar, Kiyoi had opened on his day off just for Shin, as he wants to drown his sorrows because he couldn't tell Emma that Itsuomi has a girlfriend. The boss asks him if he holds any grudges against Itsuomi for rejecting the girl he likes, but he's just too good of a guy. Shin always thinks about the well-being of both of them, even though he neglects the most important thing, his own feelings. At the handsome guy's house, Yuki is so nervous that she can't sleep. She thanks her boyfriend for everything and apologizes for not spending the night with him, saying, "I don't know if you understand me." Itsuomi gets up and tells her that it's not important yet. She gets too tense next to him, and he wants to treat her gently until the right moment. Yuki is very happy and doesn't want to sleep because if she does, this beautiful memory will be forgotten forever. Days later at the university, Ushi runs into Itsuomi and confronts him about dating Yuki. The blonde guy doesn't want any trouble. He just wants to talk to get over the awkward moment. Ushi grabs him by the neck and drags him around campus, determined to become his friend. So, they go to a study room, and Itsuomi tries every way to get along with him, but Uji just wants to leave. When Itsuomi asks if it's because he's in love with Yuki, Ushi denies it. He says he can't get along with a guy who provokes him and forces a deaf girl to leave her house so late. When he leaves, Itsuomi follows and suggests a drink. At the bar, Itsuomi orders a beer. In Germany, drinking. They both meet at the bar, and Itsuomi orders a beer. He tells Ushi that in Germany, young people can drink from the age of 16, so to not look bad, Ushi orders one too. It's his first bottle, and he already looks pretty bad. He should eat something. But instead, Ushi asks him why he knows sign language, and it's for the same reason he does, to talk to that special person. When he wakes up, he realizes that he could only handle 3 beers, and when he tries to leave, he's too dizzy and tells them that they're not the same. He learned sign language because one day when he was walking with his sister, he met a little Yuki who knew sign language. Since it was the summer festival season, Ushi couldn't hear the fireworks, but when he saw Yuki and communicated using signs, they were in their own world. It was like a secret language that only they could understand. So he studied and ended up getting hooked on sign language. With the little strength he has, he tries to go home, and before he leaves, he tells him to break up with Yuki because he promised he would do whatever he wanted. Itsuomi replies that he can't, and it's because a relationship is a decision made by 2 people, and he's sure that Yuki doesn't want to break up. It's not arrogance, he simply trusts their relationship and knows that even though they are so different, they ended up falling in love with each other. Moreover, even if Yuki hadn't crossed paths with him that day on the train, they would have still met again later and fallen in love. Ushi, feeling helpless about his response, can't forget about Yuki, but he's also not the kind of person who would steal another man's girlfriend. Ushi can't take it anymore and tears escape him. He tells Itsuomi that if he ever hurts Yuki, he'll always be there to support her. Another day at the university, Rin tells our protagonist about the date she had with Kyoya, and when she asks if they are a couple, she says she doesn't know yet. So she asks how he asked Yuki out, but at that moment, Itsumi arrives and makes her blush a lot. After Rin leaves, her boyfriend asks her why she's so nervous, and it's because her job interview is coming up soon. When Yuki asks him if he ever felt nervous, Itsuomi says no. But there was one time he was on a cruise that almost capsized, and maybe that day he felt a little scared. To help ease the nerves, Suomi taught him a technique he learned in Germany, which involves holding hands and wishing each other good luck. But since there are a lot of people watching, Yuki feels nervous even though she shouldn't be since they're dating. And Itsuomi leaves and gets a call from Shin asking about Emma. He hasn't seen her in days, and hasn't told her about Yuki either. Itsuomi hasn't seen her either, but he shouldn't worry. It's all Shin's responsibility. On the other hand, Yuki is going to her interview at Madoka's aunt's cafe, and when it's over, she tells her that she's been hired. She has such a lively spirit that it reminds her a lot of Madoka. She says goodbye and goes to buy something at the store. When she goes to pay, there's a lady who always helps her, but this time a guy with a mask wants to assist her. For Yuki, it's impossible to read his lips, and at that moment Ushi arrives to rescue her. As a thank you, our protagonist gives him a lemonade, and Uji tells her that if she has any problems, she can let him know. This isn't typical behavior for him. Before leaving, he tells Yuki that he can't stand her new boyfriend, and if he ever makes her cry, she can count on him. Yuki thinks that's impossible since Itsuomi gets along with everyone, but Ushi can't stand him signing nice things about him. Our protagonist notices he's changed. He's a completely different person. He always wanted to learn sign language to create a better world for her, but his behavior is different. Uchi tells her that he's trying to be more honest with her, and it was all thanks to the conversation he had with Itsuomi. Yuki says that throughout all the time she's been in university, he always tried to help her and encourage her to have a normal life, so if he has problems, he can be more honest with her. Uchi agrees, but deep down our protagonist doesn't know much about him, she just hopes he feels better. Soon, Shin finally asks Emma out to tell her something very important, and she is intrigued not knowing what he wants to say. Days later, Yuki finally starts her job. She washes dishes, chops cabbage, and prepares some really delicious desserts. During the break, the aunt wants to know what Yuki will do with her pay, and Yuki tells her that she wants to go on a trip. The aunt instantly realizes she's going to go with her boyfriend, so she encourages her. At work, back with Shin, Emma has already arrived at a beautiful lake at night. Shin tells her that he feels something and he seems a bit hesitant, but before he can say anything, tells her that Tsuomi has a girlfriend, and then he confesses that he's always liked her. Emma is so confused because they were always friends, and he rejected her back in high school, but it was a secret that Shin never wanted to tell. That night, Yuki receives a message from Itsuomi saying to look out the window, and he just wanted to say goodnight to her in person. They hadn't seen each other in days, so Yuki goes out to meet him and get a closer look. With the darkness of the night, it's hard to see his signs from afar, but being next to him makes everything easier, and Tsuomi gives her his coat, a hug to warm her up, and then they go to a park to chat. Yuki is really excited because she finally got a job, and little by little, she'll be saving up to go on a trip together. But Itsumi tells her not to stress too much about it. In fact, there are plenty of activities they can do together without spending money, and he'll let her choose a place for their next date. Yuki asks Rin for help to decide on a place, but they can't find anything. When she asks about the places of her dates with Kyuya, her best friend tells her that the location doesn't matter as long as they're together and having a good time. Now Yuki is sure where her boyfriend will take her. On the train, our protagonist remembers the day she met him, and it was fate that brought their paths together. They arrive at their destination, and Yuki shows him the wonders of Japanese flora. She looks really happy as they reach a field of wisteria, with hanging flowers in a vibrant pink color and a spring-like fragrance. Yuki loves taking pictures of different plants and flowers. Each one grows at its own pace and has its own charm. So, to capture this moment, Itsuomi and Yuki take a photo together. At lunch, Itsuomi tells her that he gets along better with Uchi now, and someday they could go to his house to visit him. Yuki tells him it would be complicated, but with the sign, she lightly touches her cheek and Itsuomi thought she wanted to kiss him. Yuki feels embarrassed, but she says yes. Itsuomi approaches her, looks her in the eyes, and tells her that it's not the right moment. Yuki makes it clear to him that the sign she made means appreciate. She would much rather cuddle with him. Yuki still has a question to ask him, and it's that he hasn't told her why he travels so much abroad. It's a long story, so he texts it to her so she can read it later. For now, they'll go on a boat to enjoy the scenery. Back at university, Uchi is more honest with his friends, and he seems really changed. It's definitely because he's in love, and the new OG says she's a really cute girl. On the other hand, Emma doesn't know how to respond to Shin. She was caught off guard, and her feelings are now confusing. Shin is also a bit sad because they haven't talked since what happened at the lake, and he hopes they can get together again soon. Yuki returns home with Itsuomi and is eager to read his message. It's about something that happened in his childhood. It turns out that when he was 6 years old, he moved to Germany. He thought it would be a unique experience, but he couldn't understand anyone. Everyone spoke different languages. Little Itsu was trying hard to learn German until one day he ran into another kid from his school. That kid also wanted to play ball, so he made an effort to help him understand. He felt so happy when he achieved that he studied even harder. He no longer just wanted to be understood, he wanted to communicate. From that day on, his mornings were much happier because he had friends waiting for him. That's why he travels so much, to learn more about cultures and languages and to pass that knowledge to the younger ones. Yuki is impressed and tells him that even just 10 minutes would be enough to see her and learn more about her. She wants to know what she thinks, what she feels. She wants to dive deeper into her world. Yuki is also happy because she has achieved unimaginable things thanks to having him by her side, and she feels that if they get to know each other better, she would end up falling even more in love. In the end, Ushi will finally become a sign language interpreter. Emma agreed to go on a date with Shin, Rin and Kyuya are a happy couple, and Yuki finally has her passport. Now she can go anywhere in the world with the love of her life.